说中文。
Chinese pot, Chinese pot, Chinese pot. That's the way to learn Chinese. Chinese pot, Chinese pot, Chinese pot. That's the way to learn Chinese.
Hi there, you're listening to a Newbie lesson on Chinese Pod. I'm Jenny.
Hey everybody, I'm Greg.
Well, all learners of Chinese will find today's lesson very, very useful.
Indeed, especially our newbie listeners.
Yes, because we're talking about how do you say what does this word mean in Chinese?
Highly useful phrase. In fact, one of the first phrases you should probably learn before you start learning Chinese.
Exactly. So today we have a teacher and the student, and the student has some questions.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think the dialogue is actually quite self-explanatory. So you'll hear the student saying, how do you read a character? And then the teacher goes on to also tell this person what the character means.
Right. Well, let's not give away too much of the dialogue before they hear it.
Okay. So I think we should just do a quick preview of the word 老师. 老师.
Okay, so this is L-A-O third tone, S-H-I first tone, and it means teacher.
Correct. 老师. Okay, let's listen to the dialogue 3 times now. Dialogue first time.
老师，这个字怎么念？
火，
火是什么意思？
火是 fire，
Second time.
老师，这个字怎么念？
火，
火是什么意思？
火是 fire，
Third time.
老师，这个字怎么念？
火，
火是什么意思？
火是 fire。
Okay, so I think that was a pretty straightforward dialogue.
I agree.
Okay, so let's have the translation.
老师，这个字怎么念？
Teacher, how do you read this character?
老师，这个字怎么念？
Teacher, how do you read this character?
老师，这个字怎么念？火，
火，
火，
火。
火，火是什么意思？
What does 火 mean?
火是什么意思？
What does 火 mean?
火是什么意思？火是 fire，
火 means fire.
火是 fire，
火 means fire.
火是 fire。
Perfect. So I got a little exercise out of my third tone as well.
哦，火，火
Right, but we won't get into that now.
Today the focus is how do you ask what does a certain character mean? How should you read it?
Right. Okay, so let's go through it line by line.
Okay.
So off the bat, we see the word that we previewed in the
老。
introduction.
老师，老师
Perfect. And then the really sort of the key question of this whole dialogue.
这个字怎么念？这个字怎么念？
Okay, and again, this is how do you read this character?
That's right.
But I think it's very important that we break it down piece by piece, wouldn't you agree?
I agree with you. So let's start with the beginning, which is also quite simple. 这个，这个
Okay, so this is ZHE fourth tone, GE neutral tone.
That's right.
Perfect. And this means this one.
Correct.
You're taking one and choosing one.
Yeah, 这个，这个 Now, so we can probably imagine that the student is pointing at a character.
Right.
Right, and they're saying, how do you read this character? 这个，这个
Okay. And so we're saying this one, but we're saying this character, isn't that right? So how do we say character?
字，字
Okay, and that's fourth tone.
Yes, Z-I fourth tone. 字, meaning Chinese character. Now, you might have heard of the word 汉字. 汉字.
So 汉字 is the same thing as 字.
Yes, but it's more specific.
Right.
Yeah, it specifically refers to the writing character of the Han people.
The Han people.
对对对，汉字。
Okay,
But in daily speech, people say 字 all the time.
perfect.
Okay, so we want to know how should you actually read this character, right?
Right.
So the how question comes at the end of the sentence. 怎么念？怎么念？
Okay, so this first part,
怎么？怎么？
Z-E-N third tone, M-E neutral tone.
怎么 means how. So concerning by which way,
Through what?
through what, how do you actually
Means,
do
yes.
something?
Okay, got it. And then finally, the verb in question,
念，念.
and this is N-I-A-N, fourth tone.
You're right, and it means to read.
Like to read out loud, right?
That's true.
Okay, not just to look at and read, but to
Yeah,
say.
Exactly, not just reading a newspaper, but say it out loud.
Welcome back to another installment of Chinese Pod Trivia. And the question for you is, for what test does Chinese Pod offer preparation services for? Is it A, the polygraph, B, the colonoscopy, C, the HSK test, or D, the CAT scan?
The CAT scan?
Ooh, sorry, that is incorrect. The correct answer is C, the HSK test. That's right, Chinese Pod will thoroughly prepare you to pass this rigorous test of proficiency in Chinese. ChinesePod.com/HSK.
Okay, so can we actually hear this phrase one more time as a whole?
Of course, 这个字怎么念？这个字怎么念？
Okay, again, how do you read this character?
Now, pay attention to the word order in the sentence. In English, the how comes at the beginning. However, in Chinese, how comes at the end. And this is one of the key characteristics of Chinese grammar, that you put the subject, what you're talking about first, and then you go into the detail of what you want to know about the subject.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
So, 这个字怎么念？这个字怎么念？
And one last thing, maybe we should give our listeners some examples of how to use this 怎么 with other verbs, because it's actually an extremely useful phrase, right?
Yes, and I think for our purpose of studying Chinese, you might want to ask 这个字怎么写 right? 怎么写
So how do you write it?
怎么写 Okay, so how do I actually read this character?
Yeah, so what is the character in question?
火
Okay, so that is H-U-O third tone,
Bingo.
and the student still doesn't know what it means, unfortunately.
Yeah, so we know how to read it. H-U-O third tone 火 Now you want to know the meaning, right?
Of course,
But you want to ask that in Chinese first.
that is correct.
火是什么意思？火是什么意思
So again, we have the character 火 at the beginning,
Yes.
the subject at the very beginning.
是什么意思？火是什么意思 Now the question word also comes at the end of the sentence, like we had in the first sentence, right? So you take the subject, and then what do you want to ask about it?
Exactly.
Okay, now let's look at 什么意思？什么意思？
So this is actually two words put together to make a phrase, right?
Yes, the first part 什么？什么？
Okay, that's S-H-E-N second tone, M-E neutral tone.
Yep,
And this just means what?
right.
Okay.
什么 and 意思意思
Y-I fourth tone, S-I neutral tone.
Yes, and that means meaning.
So what meaning?
对
Knowing those two, you can probably deduce what the question means.
Yes, 火是什么意思？火是什么意思
So what does 火 mean?
And of course, 是 means is. It's the verb to be.
Right. So literally, 火 is what meaning?
That's right.
Okay.
火是什么意思
Perfect.
Okay, so the last sentence is very easy. It's a combination of Chinese and English. 火是 fire. 火是 fire.
Okay, so 火 is fire,
That's right.
or
so
means fire in this case.
exactly. Now, 是 is the verb to be, and you can simply use this in the sentence. 火是 fire. 火是 fire. And it sounds very natural in Chinese. In English, it's probably more natural to say 火 means fire.
Right.
But in Chinese, you can just use the verb to be.
Finally, something that makes sense and is easier.
You don't think the previous sentence makes sense? Just
This-
broke my heart.
I'm sorry. Well, while you give your heart time to heal, let's listen to the dialogue 3 more times.
好。Dialogue first time.
老师，这个字怎么念？
火，
火是什么意思？
火是 fire，
Second time.
老师，这个字怎么念？
火，
火是什么意思？
火是 fire，
Third time.
老师，这个字怎么念？
火，
火是什么意思？
火是 fire。
Okay, so today we heard a lot about the character 火.
Right, so we thought we'd give our listeners a little bit of background on this.
Well, Chinese is 汉字 is very pictorial, right? So very often the character resembles what it represents.
Right, and in simplified characters these days, it's becoming less and less true, but 火 is definitely an example of where we can see where the pictorial roots come out.
Yes. So if you look at today's dialogue, the transcript, or on your phone, you can probably see that 火 loosely resemble a campfire. Am I right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's one thing, learning Chinese can be very fun because you can use your imagination and try to guess what does this character resemble. And sometimes you might be right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think with learning characters, 汉字, the focus has, I think, gradually shifted from just writing, memorization to more combination of recognition and being able to type these things out on a computer or a phone.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I mean, I can't remember the last time I actually hand wrote a character, except for maybe like signing for some sort of package or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely much more important to be able to recognize, even if you can't exactly remember how to write every last stroke.
And I think this is probably reflects people's intention of purpose of learning Chinese. More and more people are learning it for practical purposes.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay, so if you have any questions, please feel free to come to ChinesePod.com. And we look forward to hearing from you. We'll see you next time. 再见.
再见.
As usual, ChinesePod provides an extensive selection of learning materials for this lesson on its website, www.chinesepod.com. You can access this lesson directly with the lesson number
1979.
So just go to www.chinesepod.com/1979 and you will find a transcript, vocabulary, and much more. The link again, www.chinesepod.com/1979.